All right, welcome back to another Wright Stew podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright, and we made it all the way to Thursday. But it's early. We're ready to roll. Got some topics for everybody.
Yeah, heck yeah. So, Brian, I went to a little college doubleheader yesterday, a little softball, baseball, seeing it all. And yeah, clearly got to see my daughter play softball. And then with the baseball, it was an evening game, but they were at the Team USA complex over in Cary, Holly Springs, Apex.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Amazing, really amazing. And so a couple things. One, the fields and facilities that our young people from very young to college get to play at now, absolutely amazing. Like things that I think you and I couldn't have even dreamed of, or if we did dream of it, it was like in the big leagues.
Yeah,
These facilities that the young men and young women are playing at now are just next level. So much investment made in youth sports, and it's great. And we see that a lot too, not just in baseball, but man, like around here, there's a lot of great parks and a lot of great facilities for like soccer, and they share with lacrosse as well. And you've seen it. Like, how much money do you think they're spending on this like fake grass, turf, like building out some of these facilities?
Dude, at one time, a football field, just the turf, right? At one time, and this has been a few years ago, so it's probably behind, was like a little over $1 million. So to do like 100 yards by maybe that's probably ends up being 150 yards or 200 yards when you cover everything, and then maybe.
Yeah.
And so I understand it. I personally, I hate it still, even though the new stuff is much better than what we played on.
Yeah.
I understand that it gives you year-round, less maintenance. But dude, you get on it, and it's in the summertime. It's 1,000 degrees.
Yeah.
I've seen cleats melt up in Delaware when my daughter was playing lacrosse.
Yeah.
On the turf fields, literally, they start to separate. And they have to be 200 degrees. I've went out there and flip-flopped.
It's not 200. That's impossible.
Yeah. Oh, obviously, I'm exaggerating, but we're really, really hot. And so, dude, it's just really incredible the amount of money. I think what's odd though, you almost play on nicer fields when you're super young. And to be honest with you, around here, maybe I haven't seen all the high school fields, but at least from a baseball standpoint, what I've seen so far playing middle school ball, because we played on some high school fields, there's a big difference even within the same county as far as how nice a field is compared to this field that's in the same county. And I thought we were all even. I thought that was kind of
Well, a lot of it, at least in Wake County, it comes down to it's on the coach, players, athletic department to maintain that field. And realistically, it's the coach and team, right? You see a lot of games, players go out after and they're tamping down the mound and they're raking and they're doing those sort of things. And I remember forever all my baseball coaches, mowing the grass, just out there mowing the grass. I think they're still doing that. And I do remember in high school, we would play in a fall ball. And, in North Carolina, you can play in the fall realistically through like late October, and it's still very reasonable. And we would have teams from New York and Pennsylvania and Ohio and stuff come down and play us. And I remember we were at Millbrook. So Millbrook is a public high school in Raleigh, and the field's nice. It wasn't great. So this is like again mid-90s, right? And I was playing first base. A kid from one of the teams on the Long Island, one of the Long Island teams from New York. He got a hit, so he's on first, and we're just kind of chatting as you do at first base. And he's like, "Man, this field is beautiful. This would be like the nicest field in our city, whatever." And I'm like, "It's like, dude, Millbrook is not that nice. Like it was fine, but it wasn't like something that we looked at as." And it's so regional too, I guess. And it's funny to hear like it blew me away because he was like, "This is beautiful." I'm like, this is kind of okay. So it's interesting the investment too, and what you see from kind of different regions and areas.
Well, yeah, and I think it hasn't been that long ago where every infield wasn't a grass infield, right? In high school, and now from at least from a baseball standpoint, it is. I know softball's different, but.
Yeah.
You're right. It does take, but it takes money to be able to maintain and get all the weeds out and do all the, if you need to put some weight on it to flatten it out, you need some sand to backfill and allow
Yeah.
some. So I do think it is. I'm watching. I don't know. I guess it hits my algorithm on YouTube, but like on I've watched a number of like high school games, and even though I think ours are pretty nice around here, they're not nothing compared to some places in Georgia, some places in Florida,
Texas.
yeah,
Yeah.
or Texas. Some of those places just, I'm not against it at all. It's just odd that, hey, this is a public high school, this is a public high school, and the variance between the two. And like you said, I guess that maybe it is. Once you get to that, it's athletic department,
Booster clubs.
booster clubs. There's different things that kind of drive some of the monies, but it's just odd to see how there is a wide variance. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
And some of it is, do you have a parent or a couple parents on the team who are really handy and who can build stuff, who have some money, who understand how to maintain a field? I've seen some where we've had just like field maintenance days where families have all come out and say, "Hey, we
Yeah,
need to get these, 5 or 6 things done at the field." And there's power in numbers, right? If you get enough people out there, you can knock out, pulling the weeds or fixing the cage up or putting the net up or whatever it is a little quicker. So yeah, it is really interesting though, Brian, to see what some money and influence and that sort of thing can do to make not just baseball, softball, but just sports facilities and realize how much do you care? How much passion do you have for that?
like there's some super nice fields like that are 300 foot around us that are super awesome, but you got to rent them. They're all dirt in fields, which are fine and really well maintained. Like for our middle school stuff, like we don't have a true field. We kind of go squat on some places and slip in some places to make it work. And again, it's club baseball. It's not associated with a school, so there's no middle school other than that's where the kids come from. But it's so expensive. I really think if you could go back, especially in some of these more areas that are not rural anymore, that used to be would have been considered
Yeah.
rural, dude. If you could have bought 10 acres and put a couple of fields up, I mean, I think you would be printing money now. Now the investment to get them into turf and get them, playable the way they like to, and maybe put a fence. I mean, there's a couple complexes, that are baseball complex that are super nice. Bermuda outfield and maintained most of the year. But it is I definitely agree. There is a variance with the northern and southern schools for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the other thing that as I was entering the game last night, there was a couple other teams that were leaving, and I didn't know anybody on the other side at all. I had no clue who any of these people were, and I was just kind of listening to some of the conversations and I would say 90% of it was parents. I would say some seemed more reasonable, but kind of lecturing the kids like, we need to do this next time. You need to do this. I saw this, I saw that. And then I could see the coaches are always the last. I heard the coaches and they were talking like game plan. And I just thought it was kind of funny because it's like, oh man, like everybody cares so much. And like they're watching. And some of it goes back to, and we've told some of our kids that we coach this, like, look, your parents are going to see you more than anybody ever does. They may not be your best coaches, but they can see some things. You should probably listen to them a little more from some mechanical. They might drive you crazy, but hey, they see things. They may not know how to translate or speak the language all the time, but they can tell when things aren't going right. So, but I know it's tough when you just water lost and you get somebody in your ear like immediately. It's like, hey, let's. So parents out there, hey, sometimes take a beat, wait, have a nice car ride home, stop, get some food on the way home. You don't need to drill somebody right immediately after it, right? I mean, I don't know.
No, no, no. I'm 100%. I will say us as coaches, because we only have them in that one group, we drill immediately afterwards and try to address, 2 or 3 things, some
Yeah,
positives, some negatives. And so as coaches, as a father, I've been guilty of it. I very much grew up in the environment where it was as soon as you walk off the field, you go 2 for 3. We're talking about that one out. That's how I grew up, and and beating it. And my father is awesome. but it would beat it to death and analyze it and analyze it. He's an IT guy looking for weird little details. I feel like one of the things that I do have as a coach, at least with baseball, I do see weird little details. Like you see something in fast motion, like it looks right, but you start breaking it down. Well, this isn't right. This isn't right. And even though he's kind of right here, so I do feel like I have some positives on that. But I do try to, depending on the situation, right? If it's effort or attitude, I immediately address right after.
Yeah.
Or how you respond to something, immediately address right after. If it's results, and especially as they get older and they become more of the teenager, I try to give some time to let it kind of absorb and allow them the ability to be angry or frustrated. Don't make them go immediately to defense mode, right? Because I want them to be accountable and responsible for their results, right? And so if I immediately go into beating them up and they're immediately trying to defend how they performed, you don't give them the opportunity to develop the skin, the want to, the desire to try to correct. You just give them the desire to make an excuse why something didn't work out the way it did. And so, if it's effort, attitude, focus, I do address it immediately with my kid. But if it's results, I may ask, especially if it was a decent day, I may, hey, what happened on this? Or what happened on this? But I try not to go into, oh, you suck. What, I
Yeah.
remember, hey, collegiately, one of my good stories. I dyed my hair my senior year, and we're beating the team pretty good.
Wait, we dyed it blonde, like we're bleach.
Yeah.
Is it a team bleach, or is that just
Yeah,
you?
it was a team bleach. It was a team bleach, and I'd shaved it, so I look kind of crazy. And but we were up, and I struck out with a base. I probably only struck out. I'd have to go back and look. My senior year, it's either like 7 or 14 times. It was very few when you're talking the number of bats. But I struck out with the bases loaded. And so I come off the field, and one of the first things my dad says to me is, "Hey, if you need attention, get a hit with the bases loaded. Don't dye your hair." And so that was kind of the environment that I grew up in. And so there's a balance there. I think there's some truth, maybe. I didn't feel like I needed attention. I was trying to be a part of the team, but there is some there's some truth to what he was saying as well, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things even if you don't want to do it, you kind of got to do it. And
Yeah, and I just took it, right? I just took it. I mean, we won the game. I think we were playing not a very good team, and we won the game. And I think I still had a couple of hits that game, probably, but
he
I
was
didn't get a
looking.
hit.
He wanted those. He wanted those 2 or 3 RBIs to be added to your
Yeah.
stack. Yeah, and that's I'm very similar. Especially having a couple, maybe 3 pitchers on as children. Hey, being a pitcher is fun. Being a pitcher's parent sucks. So so much more stressful. But I like to talk to them about sequences and thought process and not necessarily results, because I know they're all trying to execute to the best of their ability, and sometimes you just don't, right? Sometimes you just miss, and sometimes it's mechanical, and sometimes you just miss your spot, man. It's not easy doing it all the time, but um, I like to say, hey, like you had this 0-2 count, and you caught a little too much of the plate with this pitch. What were you trying to do? Like, hey, maybe next time just have your catcher set up a little further off the plate to try to get a swing and a miss, or you didn't throw a ton of off speed this time. What was the thought process? Or maybe you threw an off speed, but the kid was way late on your fastball. Like, why would you do something like that? So, and not, again, not to beat them up, but more just understanding what they're thinking and trying to teach and learn, so that they don't make, I don't call it the same mistake, but so they can do better the next time. So there's um yeah, I think if you approach it from that perspective, more of like, hey, what was the thought process? Why'd you do this? You had a 3-0 count, and you got the green light, and you swung. Like, what pitch were you looking for? Did you have a zone that you were trying to hit the ball in, sort of thing? So I think if you come at it from that perspective, I think it's more beneficial, rather than, oh man, that was 0 for 3. Here we go again. You better go get in the cages, or you're going to lose your spot. That doesn't do anybody any good. Like, that's just putting unnecessary and unneeded pressure on everything.
can definitely be counterproductive. I also say, at least from my perspective, and I didn't have a daughter that played softball, so I can't necessarily definitively say this because it's two different sports. Kids are different, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, boys and girls, at least my experience, are different, especially as they mature and the boy kind of becomes a young man. I'm good with them getting angry. Girls, at least my experience, tend to get more emotional. And if you can't rationally, analytically look at a situation, they might need a little bit more time, just because they are different, right? And that's okay. And they got girl problems, right? You don't know from a female standpoint, are they, it's that time of the month. I mean, this stuff that's kind of like you don't necessarily like to talk about, but it has an impact, right? I can't imagine trying to play with that
Like,
situation.
yeah, yeah.
And so, but girls have to do that all the time. And and so the boy, I feel like I can relate to getting pounded right after the games. And I try, don't be wrong, I have done it though. Don't, I mean, I have, especially if I felt like it was kind of a weak approach or weak mentality, or he's making an excuse. And it's like, nah, it's not necessarily the right thing. It makes me feel better. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, I say the only times I've really gotten into my mind after games are, like you said, those attitude effort things. I remember, I can't remember what was going on. My oldest, there was something going on, and she had like, Stewart on the back of her jersey, and she did something I didn't like, a bad attitude or bad effort, something. After I was like, look, if that ever happens again, I will take that name off the back of your jersey, or I'll put tape over it. It will not say that, because that is not. I was like, that is not who you are. That is not who I want to be represented as a father and a coach. I was like, so you're going to be a better, well, I can't honestly, I can't even remember what it was. I have to call and ask it, but it was like, you're going to be a better teammate. You're going to show better effort, that sort of thing. And that was, I remember that one specific. I'll have to dive in. She probably won't be happy about that, but yeah. So
But all good, all good. As long as you got two daughters, so it doesn't necessarily. It could be either one of them. Then that's
yeah, the boy. It could
hey,
have been the boy. Get them all mixed up. Yeah.
hey, Paulie, we talked about these rules, and I saw something that I didn't know the consequences of the rule. The
Oh,
double
double
base,
bag. Yeah, the double
yeah,
bag.
double base. You got the white one and the orange one. We saw ECU yesterday was playing the Old Dominion in baseball, and ECU kid, actually a Cary kid who went to Old Dominion, hit a ball up the middle, nice play by the second baseman, backhands it, and it's bang bang play, but he's safe and it's clearly safe. But he touched the white bag. They go in. I don't think anybody at the field knew the rules. They go in. It's like a 5 or 7 minute conversation. I'm pretty sure the guy called somebody in the back rooms trying to get an answer. And so when they come back out, they go out. And so double bag. If you don't touch the orange bag as the base runner, you are out. You're out, Paulie. I
Well, you
I
got
don't
a
know.
whole
I
bag.
guess
I mean, you got a whole thing. You shouldn't have to touch the other side. Or with so the first baseman, I guess the first baseman he's probably on the outer third at most, right? So you've got, yeah.
I just don't. I feel like we've created a situation where I'm sure that's something that my kid would do. Like, oh well, I beat it out. I was just going to the bag. That's what I. Well, no, dude. Now you got to go. You got to touch that orange bag first. I assume if it's a multiple base, a double, triple, you can touch the white one. But if you're
Well,
going
you
to
have to,
bang
yeah.
bang play at first base, you have to touch the orange one. And if you don't touch the orange one, you're out.
Yeah, interesting. I'm not sure that I knew that, because you see it a little bit in youth sports. We saw it in softball a handful of times, not very often. But I don't know if the kids knew that rule that was explained. But like, I get it, man. It's one of those safety things, and it's just like the pitch clock when it was introduced. Guys were trying to figure it out and kind of figure how to do it in a game and take advantage of it. And just like anything, when new rules are introduced, there's a learning curve. And I'm sure, you know what, I'm sure a lot of coaches around the country saw that play or caught wind of it, and hopefully they sent out a video to their team, or they're showing it in a team practice and say, hey, look, this is yes, this is no. Like, we can't be giving away outs, because those are the things that come up in a regional or a super regional or a college world series that some teams may not have even seen, and then it comes up in a crucial time, and all of a sudden you get a free out, or you are out and everybody's going nuts, and it's like, well, that was the rule. Everybody knew it. So do it the right way.
Second thing I noticed as I've watched college baseball that's definitely different than minor league baseball, professional baseball because of the goals, but how quick the hook is. I feel like they're going for a matchup. At least some of the games I've seen, and it varies a little bit from coach to coach, but every college baseball game, I feel like they're using 5 or 6 pitchers. And the first guy's going 5, maybe 6, usually 5 innings, sometimes less. And then it feels like every college baseball game is 5 or 6. It's just a different mindset. And I remember minor league ball, at least back in my day, you get 2 or 3. A lot of times you starter, setup guy, closer. And that was kind of the ideal. There were times, obviously, where it was different. But that was a 9-inning game, and you were playing kids that were, a lot more velocity happened there, and you're playing with wood. And as it gets older, it doesn't matter as much, or as you move up levels. But no wonder college rosters, people are having trouble getting it back down to that 34 number, because if you're using 5 pitchers a night and you play 5 games in a week, dude, you got guys that are having to turn right back around. Because I think the thing that people don't always think about, those warm up, if it takes you a minute to warm up and get hot, I mean,
no, those are throws. Those are extra throws as well.
Yeah. So it adds and adds and adds. It's just and I don't know how I would be as a coach. I think I probably would be quick hook. What I don't like to see is like guys get people out, get 2 or 3 outs, and then all of a sudden it's 1 out and 7th inning, it's like, all right, I'm taking this guy out. And it's like, well, dude, they haven't played enough games to know matchup at this point. Our tendencies, it's a weird dynamic that you see a lot in college baseball. It feels like overcoaching,
Yeah. And some of the matchup stuff I think is overrated. Like, just go get a guy out. I mean, that's what you've done your whole life, right? Like, as a kid through high school, you're like, hey, I'm just going to pitch against a lefty or a righty or big guy, little guy, whatever it is. I'm throwing. And then you get to, start getting these higher levels, and it becomes like, oh, well, this and that. Like, a guy's still going to get out 7 out of 10 times, realistically, right? I mean, a really good one, that is, right? And
That's right, really good ones. That's right.
Yeah, so just
I think I hit on this a little bit too. Another change that I've seen, the bat's got to be getting back to good, like real good, because I've seen balls. I've never seen so many guys hit oppo tacos at decent sized ballparks on okay swings, okay velocity. I think the bats are back. There's a greater variance than there has been. There was a handful of years back in the 08, maybe 09, where
they killed them. Yeah, they killed them.
Yeah, they were really dead. Maybe 06. But dude, the bats are back to, at least the BB core. And I'm watching on Baseball Bat Bros. I mean, they've come back full circle. And like you said, I think you mentioned it one time. I don't guess anybody's been hit off the dome recently, and so it has happened.
That's what's going to happen. Somebody's going to get hit in the face, or unfortunately, that's kind of what happens, and they'll start going back and testing the exit velocities and all the reflexology and all that stuff of the bats, and then they'll say, oh nope, too much. Yeah, and I think and we've talked about it a little bit. It'd be nice if they could find. Gosh, remember bomb bats back in the day? Yes, it'd be nice if they could go back to bomb bats or find some sort of composite wood that worked for everybody. But again, it goes back, follow the almighty dollar and find out who's going to make some money off of it. But, well, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode today. We appreciate you listening. Hey, go out there and have a great day.
Out, go Pack 3 and 5.